We're going. I'm afraid it's like looking down too much. Well,
it'll be unique.
Yeah, we'll get what we get. So yeah, if you wanna, you can sit on the bed. It's your place tonight.
I'm a guest.
No, you're the resident.
All right.
Yeah, come on, live it up. So yeah, I just like to have these conversations with everyone that is coming to spend the night and that is inspired and we've talked to and is interested in working with us, partnering with us, collaborating. So
satchel, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
I'm kind of a satchel person.
Nice. There's a local guy in town who made.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, we can talk.
Yeah.
He's amazing. This is everything. We work.
Put in your back and
It's convertible, exactly.
Yeah,
so you just
cool.
pull out the doubles and so it's everything I ever wanted in a convertible. So I'll just take. I might take notes. I might not, but I just want to be prepared. But yeah. So just tell me about your background.
I was for the last several years I was a teacher in Round Rock, teaching 5th grade, and then shifted over to do gifted and talented for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, doing English language arts only, and that I had kind of a rough first year with that transition because I was used to teaching everything, and then having to switch to one subject was just very odd. So I kind of had a rough first year, and I really missed teaching the other subjects, and I was just kind of floundering, and decided to have a better following year, and really I just kind of lost my way, as teaching wise. So I just said, what, I'm just gonna embrace all the nerdiness that wasn't very that far below the surface, but never really just I'm just gonna go for it, and just kind of just explored and found different things through Kickstarter, and got into retro gaming and chip tunes, and through that found out about
Is
Makey
this a
Makey.
Pebble or
No, this is just even nerdier. It's the iPod.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
nice.
Found out about this. That's fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that even better.
Yeah. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Ish.
I missed the window to get one of those.
Yeah. But you can still find them on Amazon, but
and eBay
prices.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's gotta be.
But now I call it green or something.
Whatever.
Yeah. So yeah. Even this is emblematic of the nerdy route I took. And through that found Makey Makey and on Kickstarter. I thought that was a neat idea, and really didn't hear about who's using it. It was just totally out of context. But then just kind of naturally found out about Arduino, which led me to Raspberry Pi, which led to that video about what we don't teach in high school, what it was all about, or maybe even just what you don't teach in school. But it was through code.org essentially, and it was this was back in 2012, I think. How ridiculous it is that we don't teach programming in school, and that just kind of led me a certain way. I ended up finding about the maker movement through I saw a speech by Adam Savage at the 2012 Maker Fair, and when he was talking about it all just clicked. I was this is what I've been trying to do in school, but there's a thing. I didn't know it was a thing. I've always wanted to, and had combined language arts and science and math and try to do kind of unique things where the kids were doing stuff, not just worksheets. And this didn't have a name for it, I knew it was integrated curriculum, but I was I didn't really know that there was a thing of it.
So there's a lot of specific educational vocabulary.
Yeah. So
I'm learning it quickly.
Yeah, I had no idea, oh, this is a thing people are doing. I'm not just the crazy one. Hey, somebody's here.
Oh, hey, could you plug it in, actually? Just go and plug, wherever it's disconnected, and drag it back to the wall in the shed? Thank you.
Power. So once I heard that term, I researched that, and I just knew, as soon as I saw, I need to be a part of this thing, it just, it was a compulsion. And I didn't know how that would ever happen, but it was just, in the back of my mind, so I knew I wanted it in the classroom, so immediately just started, finding out about different parts of it. And was really this is what my class is going to look like next year. It's going to be this. I don't know exactly what it was going to look like, but it's going to be some programming and kind of this nerdy stuff, but just somehow I can figure out a way to incorporate it into just strictly language arts. And so while that was going on in the classroom, I found a project that somebody had did with an old Macintosh case, and it was going to be thrown away, so they decided to upcycle it, and they took the case, and it was already empty, and they found parts, and a flat screen LCD a Raspberry Pi and some other components, and they turned it into a little retro gaming machine, complete with vintage super. Or I guess you know what, just regular NES controllers.
Oh, nice.
And adapted them to work with USB, and I was like, I can do that. So that was my little project. I made it work. It was hilarious. It's like, yes, I can enter this in the Maker Faire, and like I can, I'll submit my application. And I was going online for the form, and then it wanted pictures of the project. And I was like, I just now started this, but I want to submit my project, so I had to like really kind of bamboozle my way into like getting a picture.
Yep, sorry, I get paranoid.
Yeah. Let's do this all over again.
Yeah.
So at school, like I was like we had the kids were working on stuff. Like, just bear with me, kids. Let me do something real quick. And I had all the stuff at school. And I had the Macintosh case, and I had an iPad, and I took a screenshot of Super Mario Brothers, and duct taped it to the inside of the Mac, and then just kind of gently laid 2 controllers behind, and just totally staged.
Yeah.
And then took a picture as if that was the working thing, and submitted that. And then so I had 2 months to like turn that like total lie into a functioning thing.
It'll be too loud. It'll be too loud, but yeah.
But then it got accepted, and that was shocking in itself, because there's a lot of people doing stuff.
Yeah.
It might come out at the bottom of the list. I think I just barely made it.
Hey.
But it's like it really inspired me to like had to learn how to flash the little memory card to put in Python, and then figure out how to load this other operating system on top of it that was actually doing all the retro gaming stuff, and map the controller buttons to work. And didn't think it was going to make it, but I made it and had a good Maker Faire, and that's when I got offered my current job.
Oh, awesome.
And so I was just hanging out, like no intention of anything more than here's my nerd project. And my school, the technology director was there, and they were looking for a STEM coordinator. So then I got hired on eventually, and had them add the A for STEAM, because like the whole arts integration. But the whole thing is meaningless. Like STEAM means nothing. So it's kind of like it's generic enough where you can really make like this. Like you can make it whatever you want. And it has since grown to, instead of, I think they had in mind me doing more like a elective style thing where kids would come in and learn this kind of stuff.
But no,
it's turned into like a a whole school-wide program.
That's
and
awesome.
They're on board with like Maker stuff, and now it's part of lexicon. They're kind of getting used to it. I'm not attached to saying Maker because there's still debates about.
There's just so many words. And So that's why I've struggled with, because I have a creatives in residence program that I'm getting started, and it's hard to find. Like, I don't want it to be maker, artist, designer, photographer. Like, those are all very, like, for me, the creatives in residence. Yeah. But it's a little, I struggle with that word.
Then you don't want to say, well, I'm not creative, and you might lose. Like,
But it's better than saying, like, maker was the first way I was going to say it, but then I was like, but then you lose artists. And I'm like, no, I want it to be more, like, what's the most open word for that? I don't know that we have the
creatives might have to borrow that for our own,
please.
Because I want a residency type thing where people can see what people do in their life, like a fishbowl kind of thing, and maybe be available to mentor.
I would love it to be artist in residence, but I think that still means something very specific. And so for people like Bernadette is making us a tapestry, which is double purpose because it's insulation and it's repurposed materials. And she's a craftswoman, and she's an artist, and she's a maker. Like, oh, well, creative.
Yeah, I like that.
So we should have started with your name. And your
So Patrick Benfield, I'm the STEAM director for St. Gabriel's Catholic School in Austin, which really just means I'm putting together their Maker Ed program, but not calling it. I'm calling it STEAM by Design.
That's a good name.
Yeah, it's because it's also generic enough to where it can mean a lot of different things, different people, and people have heard of STEM. So it's a shorter conversation to like, what's the A stand for? Then have to explain the history of not only like the Maker movement, but because that's really just that phenomenon is new of the moniker Maker, but it's really the pedagogy goes back to like John Dewey, and, so it's nothing. It's progressive education, and what I like about the Maker movement is that essentially everything that like everywhere from Dewey to Piaget and Seymour Papert, like they're all right. Like these things make sense and people learn this way. And how do we know? We'll look at the Maker movement, how that it's still early on, but it's really wildly popular. and it's kind of like the proof is right there because we have all these things in place with, you know, new and more easily affordable fabrication stuff and the electronic stuff and just so many types of programming, and it's just more conversations about all the stuff, you know, all coming together to almost prove that the progressive education, if you know done right, I think could be successful for education and really turn things around and help shift that pendulum back to real meaningful school, not just chasing, you know, tests and stuff. So that was the hard part about leaving the schools. I really had an awesome job in the gifted part, but this is such a wild chance to like really take what I want to do and scale it up and really make it work. And so that's a lot of pressure I put on myself to like not screw it up. Because I've seen, because you know, especially schools that public schools or any school, they want to like put the kind of maker, which is rough around the edges anyway, but make it really polished and kind of sterile. And like, and then I'm sure that at some point there'll be like a multiple choice test for, are you a maker?
Right,
you know,
right.
So.
Well, and I would wonder, does I mean, with kids, I would not imagine, but with adults, when you're trying to like pitch this to administration and talk to it with adults, the ones controlling the decisions on what programs get implemented, does the maker, like, I like the STEAM by Design name because does the maker might still have, not a stigma, but like people like, oh, it's nerdy, and that means it's computer science, and that, where STEAM by Design, it's like a new expression can get people out of their, like, I know what that is box, which is what the dumpster is too, like, but but maybe I'm wrong, I don't know.
Totally why I was very conscious, because people tend, from just conversations we've had, they think of maker movement as either arts and crafts, and it's just kind of light and cute, and it's just another name for something that is arts and crafts, or robotics, and not a whole lot of, it's really about the process of, and it happens just to go really well with design thinking anyway, but even design thinking is kind of now the like hip term, so even that is something to consider, but I think you've got to just pick your vernacular and make it mean what you want to make it mean, and not worry about other baggage.
No, at some point you have to. It's really so many words.
Yeah, you have to like let's choose something. So even like riggers, kind of in and out, and just depends on what do you mean by rigor? Well, I mean this. So that was I've had conversations about, is this a real thing? Like if you do this, is this are they going to learn math? Like, yeah, naturally, and it'll support, like, it'll make math finally make sense, and give them a reason to really know the math, not just be able to do the math.
Yeah, but when you're asking me, like, are they learning this set of 10 skills that the test teaches to? Like, no, not specifically, but, like, give it time, and yes, it will show you results.
Right, exactly. and that's because there's so many aspects of, like, actually physically building something is when, why all of a sudden, Pythagoras will have to make sense, because if they want something that's not wonky, it's going to have they're have to measure.
When you go to sleep in a dumpster and you're more than 6 feet tall, what is how angled do you have to be, and what is our maximum? Exactly. Unless you can curl up.
Seriously, there's a hypotenuse here. So it's things like that that makes the conversation sometimes easier, especially if you can explain it in terms of then the parents or administrators understand. Because it's so amorphous anyway, like the maker stuff isn't any one thing, so it hits so many other avenues, and there's good stuff constantly coming out about it that supports it, so like the Project Zero by Harvard, it's studying like what's so successful about this maker thing, so they're really digging deep and doing lots of research, and so they have their group is called Agency by Design, which is where I got the by design moniker from, because I like that. So they've got Agency by Design, which is, of course, the agency is a huge piece of progressive education. And then for our school, I chose, why I like the design part also is having done some work with local maker people, like Mark Barnett from Sastemic, who does the Nerd Bus, which is really neat.
Oh, we were talking about that briefly.
He does and I had seen it, but having him like do the specific activities really helpful. The D schools, human-centered design.
Yeah, we do a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been adding that. Just trying to. We had a workshop with solar. We're trying to add that to
And it's huge, like that, and especially with kids getting involved, and really because it's starting with empathy. I think especially middle school where they lose that ability. Having them practice that is hugely helpful, and then especially if it's a Catholic school, but it's still independent. Like there's no church on the school, so it's under the auspice of the diocese, but it's still really independent. So there's all this room to shape this program. And one of the things that I think is a good fit for the school is having it more mission based, and that it just lends itself to that human-centered design model anyway, where what are we going to do with this stuff, and how is it going to benefit people?
Absolutely. Oh, that's great. So how did you first hear about the dumpster project?
I honestly saw the news and I thought it was just crazy. It's like, it was. I liked the idea, but it was right when the very first summer, I guess. And it seemed, because just knowing how hot it was, like this guy's from out of town or something, he just doesn't know how hot it's gonna get. This poor guy.
It was hot.
What's he doing?
Yeah.
And then it kind of, it was not on my radar until we had a parent meeting and they really wanted to do this. And so I remember the guy. They wanted somebody from the school to go by there with this committee, the green committee, just to kind of vouch for it, kind of thing. So I went along, and then as soon as I saw it and saw the equipment, and then just the shape of what was done, I was in. It was like, this is the coolest thing.
We only met in February at the anniversary, so that was the first time.
That was the first time I've never seen it.
I was wondering if there was another time that because we were both at Maker Faire last year, but we didn't. Idea. But if you were stuck at your table, and we were pretty locked to the dump, we had little, if you're an exhibitor, you're kind of stuck.
And I didn't have anybody with me.
Yeah, we were there and we got to take turns. Yeah. But
and I didn't have lunch. My family was there. I couldn't really hang out. I left for 20 minutes and then didn't really go outside. But it was a good thing, because had I not been at my table, might not be here right now doing this interview. So
yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, it all worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just saw it and I just thought it was the coolest thing, and especially when I got closer to see that there's really neat science going on, and then when I saw inside and thinking in the kind of maker way, wow, this is just the perfect space to try. You can use real measurement tools now because do that. You can put different stuff in it and have that be a design challenge. And it was just a blank slate for really whatever you want to do. And it's just a vehicle for cool stuff.
That's why we were so excited, because you get it at such that fundamental level that it's an empty box, and that's what's challenging about it and intriguing, and makes them enthusiastic. Because you have to think about everything from zero, and anyway.
And
so
you just populate it with whatever you want, and it can be anything you want it to be, and that's what really was intriguing. And then saw what y'all did with it, and just your plans for it. It was and just obvious. This is really, really awesome.
Cool.
And I think it'll be great having y'all at the school. Because I think when people think about it, they hear dumpster and they just kind of turn off after that, because they have their image of it, and they're well, that's just weird. But I think seeing it, because I'm not sure what he's going to talk about.
Well, we're all clever. Yeah, we're collaborating on a talk. I mean, it would just.
I think showing the pictures of the inside. is a must.
Yeah.
And then especially the equipment outside.
Okay.
And the fact you're taking sensor readings, so that's something that I'm trying to do.
Okay.
Through, because it's a pre-K, they call it junior K, pre-K to 8th grade campus, and they each have, it's 2 different buildings, and trying to get the students to do, and this is also part of the maker thing, is do real stuff with real equipment, and not pretend science, but really be a scientist. And part of it is using tools and analyzing data and what does this mean. So trying to get more of those kind of sensory tools to them, so they can look at data and make sense of different bars and graphs and outputs that they get.
And it's a vehicle for teaching how to become a scientist, and for everyone. In adults, we don't use that language necessarily, but it's no, you're doing the experiment. Even if you don't and we're teaching experimental thinking, so that's good. No, these are helps for because we were just still working on the.
So if they can see that, and then. Just what the possibility, they would get a kick out of the false floor too.
Yeah, we've got some good pictures of looking down with the floor open.
Yeah.
How much do you think they'd be interested in the transition, because of what we've done? We have pictures from the first night and then adding the floor.
I think that would be that would be great to see.
Okay.
Here's the original, and here's what we made of it, and here's the different, and using that vocabulary, because that's part of. I'm trying to get everyone to start using more. Because like this summer, I've got 10 teachers I'm working with to really. They're already kind of like the kind of power user type that just are interested in the next thing, but they're new for the most part to like maker stuff and just the term and the design concepts. So I'm working going to have like a week-long intensive kind of make camp-esque thing. So day 1 will be design thinking, day 2 will be more with like the Project Zero stuff, and then PBL, and just to get just like project-based learning. So because we don't have to take the it's all the jargon.
It's great. No, it's good.
Because we don't have there's no state test for us because it's independent. But there's still kind of like a rush to cover stuff really fast. So it's really like, let's do slow, deep learning. It's like the slow food movement. It's like, let's do the slow learning.
I like that slow learning, like slow deep. I like the
that's
slow
not mine.
learning.
Half the stuff is just for people I collaborate with.
No, trust me. Amanda was like, no. I was like, so these things sprung forth. She's like, no, like any teacher I steal.
Yeah.
Like that's
it's my own remix of it all. But it makes sense though. Like it is true. Like I want to slow down, and really go deep with this stuff. And so starting with these teachers. But then start getting this vocabulary into the students' minds too of iteration and iterative process and prototyping and materials and just structures and getting them familiar with these design or engineering terms.
No, this is good because we can work because it'll make our talk better if it really links to yours really strongly.
Yeah.
So these are good if there's any other vocabulary like specifically because that's how we phrase things generally, but. It'll be good if we can really hone in on that.
And even if you mentioned like a D-school model or something too, because I think I think dealing with parents, they're like, why are you doing this? But I think if they see other people doing it, it's doctor types, it might be good. Although at some point, this is really the week that you are here is specifically for Earth Day, so I guess it's going to have to be. It'll go totally flow with what we're doing anyway, because with sustainability and usage and what do you need, I think that will be, I guess, the main point of the lecture, or
Well, our mission is the fundamental question in our mission is like can we build a happy, healthy home for you and the planet?
Yeah.
So environmental is our message,
yeah.
And wrapped up in the education part of that is all of this other stuff, but we are fundamentally addressing environmental messages because we can use this and specifically talk about water.
Right.
And we link that to health and it's that healthy for you, healthy for the planet.
It's perfect.
Okay.
Because that'll be good going forward for when we are doing more of the project-based learning and having them look at a problem and when they're getting background, like that. One of the challenges could be let's tackle it from the environmental perspective. And especially with the little kids, having an understanding of where the stuff they are building, where the materials come from, and where does it go when they're done with it. Because I don't think a lot of times they think about it, like where do computers go when the school gets rid of them, and then they say it gets recycled, but what does it look like, and what does single stream recycling look like, and is that effective, and where do you think it's go that you can't recycle? Where do we source these materials? Where are they coming from? And even if it's something like a big lithium battery, well, where does the metal come from? Where does the lithium come from? How do they get it over here?
Yeah, and we, because of where we're positioned with our university, we probably won't go into this, but we take it to the next question is like, and where are those facilities typically located?
Exactly.
Where are the power plants located? Let's talk about the justice aspect of it, which there's not enough. Because
that's where I would like to go with like the 8th graders. Like, or 7th grade, like the ethics of, where do these rare metals come from someplace? Or even the base metals, they've got to do a lot of strip mining, and then they get shipped on a giant boat, and that uses a lot of fuel. So to get, the battery over here to lower your carbon footprint just made a really big one.
Yeah.
So
supply chain.
What do you do?
You can start using the supply chain language because that's huge, but fairly complex.
Yeah.
So
but that would be discussions that I would like to have.
Excellent.
For all types of ethical dilemmas, not even just for like the design part, but just in general.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Computer programming and just it's
Well, and especially in the U.S. and in Texas, there's such good conversations on single-stream recycling in Houston with Dr. Bullard and the Dirty Murphs and all of that stuff. There's a lot of that. And I'm still I'm also still learning so much about that. Of just having been here a year and a half, never really gotten into that environmental justice, and not even knowing that that was an expression, and it's just blowing my mind and learning how one little thing can expand into
and if we can get
so many
students talking in these terms and having that vocabulary, that's what I want to see. Because like a lot of the stuff that happens at most schools, including this one, is a lot of things are parent driven, and then it just kind of it comes and goes because the kids never buy into it because it's obviously just kind of things parachute in, but then there's not enough follow up. So I think having opportunities like this to visit and then follow up and incorporate some of your curriculum and have these talks and get these kids equipped with vocabulary when they have this kind of like design thinking process and that those skills related to that, especially with like our makerspace that's coming up, to start thinking about ways to solve these problems in a real way, because that's really to me what all this stuff is about. Is since they have ways to make something that does something now, not just a poster or like a simulation or a drawing, but they can actually design something that will actually do something, and maybe they could think about these topics. Yeah.
So what types of activities, environmental community service activities, do they already have some lined up? They must. For just curious.
There's been more media creation stuff. I think I know the school wants to implement an actual because we collect recyclable goods, but I don't think we actually have a recycling service, which is an issue. So I don't know where that goes. If it's like a volunteer taken someplace, or just gets thrown away.
How many? I don't know. What's the size of the school?
It's about 850 kids.
Wow. So it's funny. Our university is only 1,000.
Oh wow. Well, it's funny because and that's from pre-K to 8.
Yeah.
My elementary school worked out from just kindergarten through 5th was that many.
Yeah.
So it's like wow, it's crazy just how many kids. And so there's that. They made some kind of promotional movies about issues.
Okay.
What I would like to do next year is have the students lead everything and do a case study and have them observe different areas within and without of the school, and have them identify things and then come up with their own solution for it. And take it to the process.
Yeah.
But have it be a student-led thing and supported by parents and mentors, experts to come in and vet their ideas, and just have them come up with things like there's lots of food waste in the cafeteria. There's lots of just waste in general.
There's a lot of good university models of where student-led are, especially composting. We've been to several conferences where there's a lot of student-led composting, where they first raising the issue to students and talking about they just collect it themselves and do a little pilot study.
Exactly.
There's some really good models, so just downloadable sort of plans for how to do that. I would just. So should we then? I'm trying to think, because the best, we're not going to have the dumpster there, but will be. So should we pitch Maker Fair? Because unfortunately we're missing Earth Day, which will be at Earth Day this weekend. Right. But then Monday we're talking. So
pitch that too, because we're doing a whole Earth Week thing.
Yeah.
So
but they won't be able to come see it. But we'll pitch Maker Fair.
Yeah, because we'll be there as a school.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to pitch that anyway. So having more people say it. The more the better, because it's a few students know about it, but it's few and far between, and a lot of the teachers have never been.
Okay.
But there are some,
This year will be so much easier with it being at the Palmer and
Except the parking. The only thing I liked about being out there was just it was easy.
It was for yes, exactly. It is very valid. I mean, I know they love to encourage you can get there any which way, but people want to drive.
Yeah.
It's true.
So we'll probably park and walk someplace. The last time there was something there for the South by Creative. There we parked at Austin High on the trail. So.
We did. I did. For South by, I did B-Cycle everywhere. It's expensive though. Is the thing. I like B-Cycle, but $8 a day. If I just need 2 rides.
Yeah, seriously.
It's a lot. I wish they had an hour just.
Right.
Yeah,
more like a car to go. Kind of thing. Yeah.
But that's what I did because for South by I just parked here on campus and just recycled it everywhere.
Yeah.
So.
They didn't have an Uber for pedicabs.
Oh. Yeah.
Copyright. It all started right here. Yeah, plug Make It Fair. That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of any.
And so what are you gonna do tonight? Well, we can be wrapping up here.
No, I'm gonna just like enjoy the quiet. And seriously, like I'll get some coffee, but that's just what I do. Read, and then finally I've had some stuff that I wanted to do blog wise that I just never get around to doing, so finish up some stuff. Just hang out.
Awesome.
And just take pictures and
yeah.
I'll probably be looking at the power usage.
Yeah, and I'll get you on I'll show you. Well, if you just search for Dumpster Project on Weather Underground, we're there. But I can also get you to the raw feed from our Hobo. It also is.
That's how you say it.
Yeah,
okay.
So Onset's the company, and Hobo is the suite of bloggers. Yeah.
So for where does that go to again?
This one is internal.
It goes to where? The service that you use.
So we just have it. You could buy cell service. We just have it Wi-Fi connected. Yeah. So it mails me data file. This I have to offload manually.
Okay.
But the big weather station emails me the data files. I can offload it manually too, but it emails me like daily and weekly. So I just
gotcha.
And
what's the company called?
Onset.
Onset. So you could so far, school want to do something similar? Is it just like a subscription thing? Like we just need access, and then we
buy the equipment, and if you get the Wi-Fi plan is free.
Okay.
Because it's on your Wi-Fi. Yeah. You would pay for if it's connected cellularly, they'll sell you a data plan. Gotcha. But if you Wi-Fi, it's totally free.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah, and it's it's user friendly enough for someone that wants to look into it. They're not they're not WYSIWYG.
Yeah.
They're require a little bit of doing. But
that's how you learn.
Yeah. And the one thing is I think they have open API, so there's a lot more we can be doing with the data, and that's on my to-do list.
Yeah.
But
with all your spare time.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's fun. I like the energy meter is great, and we're just starting to really figure out that because I'm getting solar soon for the dumpster.
That's so fun.
Yeah. And there's a whole lot more. I just want so many sensors. We don't have a VOC sensor. I'd like that. And just more of how do you measure air quality? I mean, we have carbon dioxide, but that was mainly just, a lot of that is to make sure we weren't hitting thresholds. Like if you have a person sleeping in here overnight, it's not, this is barely not sealed up. It's not a problem.
Can you measure heat loss and where it's come out from?
Yeah,
like,
that was
like a thermal kind of...
I wonder...
Because that'd be interesting to see, what are the hot spots and where's heat escaping from and what insulation is the best. And
it's true. We need to think when we get the insulation here. The other thing that I didn't mention we measure is moisture, interior moisture levels. That's a soil moisture sensor, this green square on top of the thing. So that's, it's a leaf wetness sensor, but we're using it to measure how damp the walls were getting so that we would know how quickly we're going to mold our... But we're not. Actually, the levels are not... Austin is humid, but not terrible.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So there's so many more sensors we could have, and I love the data side of it. So, let's see. I think that was great. I just wanted to, cool. Yeah. That's what led you to teaching? I guess.
It was kind of accidental. I knew more about what I didn't want to do than what I wanted to do, so that kind of steered me different directions. And for the good chunk of it, I was not even on my radar in school. I just kind of did a typical kind of wandering. I started off as a music major, but then just really didn't. I learned by ear, so having to retrain myself to sight read, and I was too much remediation would have to happen for that to actually take off. So it's great at the theory part, but as soon as scale and stuff came up, I was and I had to do a chorus one semester, and I was I get paid not to sing. So my other interest was more in the anthropology side, the physical anthropology, and it was at Texas State. Then it was Southwest Texas. Did some work with a forensic anthropologist. He was a professor there, and one of like 2 in Texas. Cool guy, got to do some neat stuff there, just like as a minor bit role in the program, and I really took to that. But when it came down to deciding if I wanted to stay as that major, I was looking down career paths, and being one of 2 in Texas was a good indicator that there's not a whole lot of opportunity out there.
Yeah.
And then to do anything with it, you had to go through the Doctora program, and I just knew that was just getting past the 4-year mark was going to be a struggle. So
no, it's good when you know not. It's good when you know that getting the doctorate is not for you. Don't. Yeah.
Yeah, because even just the undergrad part was just. It was a challenge to find something that actually fit. So by the time I figured out, I was like, I just want to just get through this. Tried the clinical laboratory science, and that was just really I just wanted to work in the crime lab. Because I didn't even go to college right after high school. I worked because I knew I wanted to be in the crime lab. I interned there with the Travis County Sheriff's Office when I was in high school, and processed evidence and took fingerprints and did lifted fingerprint stuff off and took fingerprints from people and went to crime scenes, and that was awesome. Loved it. So then it's I want to do this. So out of high school, I asked the people in the lab how do I get here, and said, well, I need to actually work for the county first. So I applied, and where you have to start is with the jail. So I worked at the Travis County Jail complex that used to be, I guess, still there by the airport.
Oh, okay.
By the new airport.
I don't actually know. I guess that's a good thing.
It was weird. About 17, I just turned 18, and it was my first real job. I was at the sheriff's office, and I wasn't a corrections officer, but it was working in the jail. It was a thing called a control room operator. You open the doors.
Oh yeah, that's what I was imagining.
Yeah, lots of that. But I learned a lot just from doing that, and saw a lot of crazy stuff there. Worked at the one downtown a little bit. That was wild, and did some stuff over off of Deckard Lane at their 911 center. So did a lot there, and then we just keep an eye out for postings. And a posting came up my second year, and I was like, I've got I knew everyone there. I applied, but I had no experience and hadn't been to college, and so I was shocked when I wasn't picked to be a crime lab technician. So I just left. I was like, what, I need a college background. So that kind of started some of that search for stuff, and it just didn't line up. But then, and there was a pause in the college career. When I went back in was when I was married and had to work back at the jail. It was such a bad experience the second time around because it was not the same when I first started. I was fairly miserable, but then I went to see my wife teach at her first teaching gig, and it was such a difference from working at this dank jails, it's miserable, and everyone there was just depressed, just horrible family situations, and just nothing good was happening there. And I went to see her elementary school, and she was outside, and the kids were laughing. I was like, what, this is it. So I said, I'm gonna go back to school. I had enough credits in English, I could do that. That was my fastest route, and then get a teaching certificate added on top of that. So that's where I ended up. Okay. And then luckily I found a school that they needed a whole new 5th grade team, and so I thought I was gonna be a high school teacher, but it was elementary was my first gig, and I was like, I don't know about this. This is crazy. 5th grade, but I ended up loving it. 5th grade is my favorite. It was just such a good age.
We've had good experiences teaching science over with the 5th grade.
They're great there because they're still they're impressionable, and they're still really.
You can start to see the glimmers of the shift, though.
But it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet, but you can.
It's their it's funny because they're trying these behaviors out, but it's hilarious because it's definitely almost like a Halloween costume. They're just trying it, but it's not really. They don't know enough about it for it to really stick. I remember
they don't have the hormones yet for it. It's not a part of them.
No.
It's I've seen this.
They've seen it, so they're maybe
it is a costume. I think this is what it feels like and looks like when.
But then they go back and it's they do hilarious stuff. I remember there was 2 girls that were attempting to text, right? But instead of actually texting each other, they would type and then pass the cell phone. I was like, okay, guys, if you're gonna do this, press send, and she'll answer
That's fantastic. I don't think that must have been a few years ago. I don't think that problem.
No, this was probably 2008 or something. It was still just funny,
on a flip phone,
totally. Here's my message. Come on, kids. So just this is my first year in a while because I've been an advisor for a bunch of 6th graders, and it's just that next year it makes all the difference.
Wow.
They're just, it's they're if there was a little island we can send these kids to for a while, and when they're in 8th grade get them back, that'd be ideal. But
so do you have kids?
I've got a 5-year-old. No wait, 6-year-old and a 9-year-old now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting there.
Getting there. You know, and already with the 9-year-old.
Do you feel prepared? More prepared being 2 teachers?
I don't know if prepared. I think we're resigned because I know it's coming, and I always hear story from the parents who are like a few years ahead of us. So hearing the horror stories, you know. But then I also see the people that are beyond that who have kids leaving and how depressed they get. So it's like, well, you can't win.
No,
like,
yeah.
So, but it's good for me because of just having it. You develop way more empathy for your own parents, and like everything makes sense. And like, I remember I used to hate it when my parents laughed at me. That was like the worst thing you could do was just like laugh at me when I was having a tantrum. And now I laugh and I try not to do it because I know how much I hated it. But it's like, I get it now. It's funny. When I was thinking about nothing, it's just kind of it's entertaining. So yeah, teaching's been great though. Like it's just everything's kind of fell into place, and one thing has led to the next, and the whole maker thing just was really just everything lined up. It's wild. Like,
Well,
the
it's
things
just,
I'm doing now.
It's so great to talk to people that are passionate about what they do, and I definitely know how it's a journey. I'm so jealous of the people that like knew what they wanted to do and like then still set out on that path and never wavered from it.
So how'd y'all end up here? Like, how did you 3 get together and this happen? Because that seems improbable.
Yeah,
like
so
3 people
it's interesting because first one of these I did with Amanda because I wanted to document some of that history because Jeff had this idea and was working on it at UT Brownsville for a few years, and wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going anywhere, and then
did he know y'all already?
No. So he took this job and moved to Austin. And I had I did Peace Corps service and moved to Austin. My dad's been here for years, but I'd never lived here. Had to pick a place to land. I'd been living overseas even before that.
Where were you for the Peace Corps?
I was in Mexico.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
cool.
It was good. It's an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Peace Corps would be many hours of conversation.
Yeah.
But it was for me, it was a career shift, and it worked. It's not an easy journey. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it's what I was not going back to school. So it was like I have a doctorate. I've spent 22 years in school. I'm like, surely this is enough, right? Or 20 years in school or whatever. Anyway, I started. I'm talking with Jeff when he was just in the process of moving and starting here and was. The project wasn't fully going yet. But Amanda, so when he started here, Amanda was faculty here. She'd been here for a few years, and another faculty emailed her the webpage and was like, "Hey, here's the new dean. What do you think of this?" And she she thought, "Oh, it's already ongoing. I wonder what stage they're at. Maybe it's already done, or what, not quite here." And then gradually learned that, "Oh no, it's very much just starting." So he started in the fall of 2013. And I was brought on board as the sustainability coordinator and dumpster project manager in January.
Wow.
So the project was, in the forming very much in early stages all that fall. And we got the dumpster mid-January and got it February 4th of 2014 was when it was delivered. And then the project formally started. So no, none of us had met until...
That's amazing. Wow. It's not how I pictured it, but
yeah. So it's been an intense but good year. I think we all...
You guys have done so much. I can't believe I got here. Because I remember seeing the early, from the news footage, there was nothing in it. It was just it was clean.
An empty box, And it smelled it was clean but very rusty. That was the overwhelming smell was rust. Wow. It never smelled like garbage, but it smelled like rust.
And I could not believe that's going to be brutal. And then to see when because I was not expecting... I didn't know what to expect. So when I saw just how cool it was, I think it had the lights turned up too. It was really
so we go through different. We go through different design.
Really nice.
So right now it's in a little bit of a minimalist stage. I want to add more. We need a new rug. This one's kind of meh. And we're getting the tapestry because it looks really nice when there's fabric up on the wall. But it's also kind of nice as this little bit of a Zen retreat, a little bit more bare. But we don't want it to. It needs to also look very homey because that's. For the little bit more on the skeptical side, that's the engaging part is when it looks beautiful. And we want it to, it's your home. You need it to look beautiful. And that means different things to different people. But if we're trying to balance, an aesthetic value that will appeal to a wide range audience.
Well, then the light was so good because by the time after the conversation piece was over from the balcony area. We walked in, the light was really cool.
The golden hour does nicely with
does
nice things with the dumpster.
Nice.
Right now, it's pretty good.
So it feels like And what I like about it is, like, that show like Design Star, where they have the white room and they just and the interior designers, they have like 4 or 5 of these fairly small, maybe like floor and maybe 1 or 2 walls kind of deal, white, and then for the design challenge they paint it, they do the floor, they do the furniture, and so that's almost how I see. Or like how IKEA, they're constantly shifting new things
well,
around.
we're talking actually with a company now that specializes in sort of the interior design. Like they connect you with a network of designers, and and you pay room by room, which is a really great thing. And they've hit a good price point. I think it's like $299 for and for the design. Yeah. And we're gonna work with them actually, and we're gonna do a few different things, like some contests to work with designers, and then eventually we'll pick and redesign and maybe do several of them.
See, I want, like, what if you did that have the students do it, like have a design thing, like have like an elective, because that's kind of where I was, maybe depending on how this shakes out for the school.
That's another,
is if we can offer like an 8th grade design elective, and then as one of the challenges, like a culminating thing.
We're totally happy to be the client for.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because we're working with Skill Point Alliance, the Velocity Capstone, and they do. I mean, they have a business structure that's an entrepreneurship, but a technological and entrepreneurship program where they form a company and they have a client and they're addressing a technological problem, and we're the client.
More with them, because I just don't know, is that what they do?
So Skill Point Alliance is much broader. They do workforce training more broadly, so a lot of it is adults, but they do youth as well, and that's the Velocity program, and this is the capstone project.
See, that's exactly what I was thinking. That'd be a good capstone kind of thing for like 8th graders.
And they do camps and stuff in the summer, so they do really good things. They've got great, like, they build solar racers. So I can connect you with the...
I know I've met some, like, for the... Do you guys go to the monthly maker meetups that Mike...
We probably met Leah Grossman, so she is amazing, and she's one of the main Velocity program people. If not, I can totally connect you to her. Their website's also really... They've got a lot of it. She's downloadable, all of the, like, solar racer stuff, but you talk with Leah, and she's fantastic.
One of the things that we did, I think it was through Skill Point, it just didn't turn out so well on our side, was they had like a feature city competition. And that for us, that was a big struggle, because that was one of the first things I did at the school, and it just didn't go well, because it was a rough topic this time, because it was about farming. And
that's a huge right? Because I think we Westlake Middle School went to the nationals on that, and it's amazing. I mean, but it's a lot of work.
Because it seemed cool. We'll give it a try, and just the amount of background knowledge is needed.
Imagine.
So we didn't start till whenever, September, late August, probably September, mid-September, and then it was like, there's so many steps, and then just for the background building, and we spent so much time doing that, and then we ended up just not even competing, because it was we just stalled because they lost interest. So knowing more, we need half a year to prep for that. Right. So I'll try it again sometime. There's that City X project, which is pretty neat too, though.
Oh, okay, I don't know as much about that.
I got that from someone from the Thinkery. Oh, okay. With their Ed Exchange programs, really.
Yeah, we everything with the Thinkery is amazing.
Check with Katie Yates about that.
Okay.
It's the same kind of thing, but it's smaller scale, and you can really do it in a classroom.
That's good,
but it's designed for the common good, and then you do a 3D printing thing, and there's a case study that you're working with. So, but nice. There's also a city management piece, I think. Okay. So some of it touches on the same things.
Cool.
But that was my Skill Point thing. So that's all I know them from, that competition. And once I talked to other teachers from other schools who had done it, I was like, oh, that's how you did it successfully. Because I don't know how kids do this in this time frame.
Yeah.
Oh, you need to know before what the topic is about. Got it for next time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I can let you start settling in. Is there any other final parting words you want to express, or?
No, I'm just really excited to get started. Just just have this time and space.
Nice.
It's a gift. It's almost like a retreat.
It is. Yeah, that's great.
It's a very zen vibe. I like it.
Nice. All right, well, thanks.
Yeah.
And,
I guess we need to do paperwork and stuff?
Yeah, let me